Welcome to our final episode on the world of Kabbalah. The mystical system stretches like a ladder. In our first episode, we began at its lowest rung and we climbed upward from there. So, before we hit the climax, let's recap our previous steps. Lesson 1. We met the three basic layers of God's creation that range from terra firma to the spiritual extreme. Kabbalists call them three worlds of created entities: Asiya, Yetzira, and Beriah. What do they have in common? They sense their own identity, and they feel independent from God. We can relate to that all too well. Lesson 2. We rose beyond creation to meet the divine world of Atzilut, home to the Sefirot. The divinity of Atzilut is stamped with the limitations of defined characteristics. We cannot relate to such powerful divinity, but we can connect with its variety of characteristics. Lesson 3. We soared beyond Atzilut to meet Keter. That's a leap from divinity with limitations to God's infinite light. It's difficult for us to relate to God's infinity, but we learned why the infinite light is indispensable for our limited world. Lesson 4. We hit the peak of our ladder and discovered a debris field of a cosmic mystical explosion. During the pre-birth of creation, the intense but chaotic spiritual layer known as Tohu imploded, the effects of which still impact our reality today. Lesson 5. We met the ultimate mystery of creation. How does anything but infinity emerge from God's infinite light? That's where we discovered Tzimtzum, the cosmic process of contracting and concealing divine light to facilitate the emergence of all layers of existence. That was some ride. So, what's missing? Well, we've discussed God's creation, its system, purpose, and relevance. We've also discussed God's transcendent divinity. But we haven't discussed God himself. There's a reason for that. God is off the charts. We plotted a path from the foot of the mystical system, that's us, all the way to the greatest divine revelation. But God's self, or Atzmut, the essence, that's beyond any revelation, description, or definition. God transcends all logic and rules, which are merely His own creations. So here's today's surprise. That's exactly what makes God Himself most relevant. Why is that? Here's one reason. God designed us in His own image, which means that He gave us the ability, not provided to the rest of the rule-abiding system, to break the divine rules. And we do. We mess up. But where do we go from there? The system works by the book. We threw out the book, so the system won't let us back in. Thankfully, God Himself, at His essence, is not bound by the rules He authored. He is free to revise or override at will. And God chose to connect our deepest core, the very essence of our soul, to His own essence. How does that help us? Because our desire to repair our relationship with God after messing up springs from our deepest self. It's the voice of our innermost soul. So when we reach into our deepest self to return to God's embrace, God does the same. He overrides His own system to provide us clemency and atonement. Our sincerity cuts through the cosmos, and God's reciprocating love cuts through His infinite light, the Tzimtzum, Tohu, Keter, Atzilut, Beriah, Yetzira, and Asiya, to us. Now, if that's not absolutely relevant, nothing is.